There are moments in history that defy the mathematics of reality, not metaphorically, not poetically, literally. October 25th, 1415, the feast day of Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian, a Thursday, cold. The ground saturated from 3 weeks of rain so complete and so relentless that the fields have become something closer to a slow brown sea than a battlefield. On the south side of that field, the French side, stands the largest and finest army that France has assembled in a generation. Somewhere between 25 and 36,000 men, knights in full plate armor, the nobility of France represented in its entirety, the flower of French chivalry, the concentrated military power of the most powerful kingdom in Europe, assembled, ready, certain. On the north side of that field stands Henry V of England and his army, 8,000 men, of whom perhaps 6,000 are longbowmen, men who have been walking across France for 17 days in the rain, covering 260 miles, on rations that ran out 3 days ago, and water that made half of them sick. They are 8,000 against 30,000. They are standing in a field in France, and they are about to do something that should not have been possible. You are an English archer, 23 years old, from somewhere in the Welsh borders where the longbow is not a weapon, but a way of life. You have been in France since August. Dysentery took the rest, and now there are 8,000 of you, and you are standing in a field that the rain has turned into something that tries to swallow your feet every time you shift your weight. You have 24 arrows in the sheath at your belt. You have a knife. You have a sharpened stake that you drove into the ground in front of you an hour ago at the king's command. The man to your left is Thomas. He has not said anything for the last hour, and this is unusual because Thomas has not stopped talking since August. The man to your right, you do not know. He arrived with a reinforcement company 3 days ago. He is perhaps 16 years old. He has been looking at the French army across the field for the last 20 minutes. The morning light is thin and grey, and the field smells of wet earth, and the distant sound of the French army has been coming across the 400 yards between you for the last 3 hours. Then it stops. The French army goes quiet, and in the silence that follows from somewhere behind you, you hear a single voice. Henry V of England is speaking to his army. He does not shout. He rides along the line, slowly, stopping, speaking to groups of men close enough to hear a normal voice. He tells them they are outnumbered. He does not pretend otherwise. He is 27 years old. He has been king for 2 years. He rides back to the center of the line, and the army waits. And the waiting extends from 1 hour to 2 hours to almost 3 hours. The wet cold of the October morning works its way through armor and padding and linen and into the bodies of 38,000 men on both sides of a field in northern France. At approximately 11 in the morning, Henry makes a decision. He orders the English army to advance. The English line moves forward, 8,000 men crossing a field that is trying to eat their feet with every step. They stop at 300 yards. 300 yards is the effective range of the English war longbow. Henry raises his hand. The command travels along the line, not as a shout, but as a signal. One arm raised, one arm dropped, passing from officer to officer along the 8,000-man front. 6,000 longbowmen draw simultaneously. 160 pounds of draw weight multiplied by 6,000 bows. The sound of 6,000 war bows coming to full draw is not a sound most people have ever heard, but the men who heard it at Agincourt and used words like thunder And like the sky tearing and the French cavalry beginning to move, the order finally given, the great armoured horses beginning their walk, that will become a trot, that will become a charge. And above the English line, 6,000 arrows at full draw, pointing at 45 degrees into the grey October sky. Henry drops his hand. The narration stops. 6,000 arrows leave 6,000 bows in the same instant. The sound is unlike anything. 6,000 arrows in the air simultaneously produce a sound that is closer to the sky itself, making a decision, a vast collective hiss that rises as the arrows rise and then drops in pitch. The arrows come down, the horses are not armoured the way the knights are armoured, and what happens to the front ranks of the French cavalry in the next 4 seconds is the sound of the impossible arriving on schedule. The charge breaks, not stops, breaks. The horses behind cannot see what has happened to the horses in front until they are inside it. The English longbowmen drop their bows, they draw their knives, their mallets, their hatchets, and they advance into the chaos of fallen horses. The finest knights in Europe, helpless on their backs in a French field in October, unable to rise because the armour that was supposed to protect them weighs 60 to 80 pounds, and the mud beneath them is not releasing them. And the English archers are coming through the arrows and the horses and the bodies and the chaos with the absolute focused purpose of men who have done their mathematics and understood that this is the moment, this specific moment, that everything that comes after depends on. The French second line, 30,000 men who watched the first line dissolve in 4 minutes, does not advance. This is the moment. This is why Agincourt is Agincourt. All of it in 4 minutes, on a Thursday in October, in a muddy field in France, silence complete, held for 5
and so the
full
clamour
seconds.
dies.
The wind across the field, nothing
leaving
else.
only the cold
When
wind.
it is over, the field does not look like a victory. It never does. The French dead number somewhere between 7 and 10,000. The English dead number perhaps 400. Henry walks the field. He removes his helmet, he looks at the field, and he gives the order for a Te Deum to be sung, a hymn of thanksgiving. His army sings it, the sound of 8,000 exhausted, sick, hungry men singing a Latin hymn of thanksgiving on a battlefield in northern France in October. Thomas, the man to your left who stopped talking, is alive.
We survived this day,
you
my
find
friend.
this out when you hear him talking again,
I
which you
never
hear from
thought we would
20
see
feet
the
away
morning.
before you see him. And the talking is not what it was before. The 16-year-old to your right is not alive. You do not know his name. You never learned it. Agincourt changed things, not everything, not permanently. France would recover. The 100 Years' War would continue for another 38 years after this field. It changed what England believed about itself. A nation that had been losing a war for decades, that had crossed the Channel with a force every military analyst of the period assessed as inadequate. That changed what the longbow meant, not just as a weapon, but as an idea. The idea that a common man with a common weapon, trained to uncommon proficiency, could defeat the most expensively equipped army in Europe. Every commander who has ever used ground cleverly, every general who has ever trusted an unconventional weapon, they are working in the intellectual tradition that Agincourt established on a Thursday in October in 1415. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers.
We saw the end of it.
He did not say
We are
those
alive,
exact
brother.
words, but he meant them. The field at Agincourt exists today. You can go there, you can stand in it. Stand in the field. Try to feel it. Try to stand in the place where 6,000 arrows left 6,000 bows at the same moment, and the sky made a sound that nobody who heard it ever forgot. Try to find Thomas, Try to find the 16-year-old whose name was never recorded and who is therefore everywhere. The field is green. The wind is the same wind. And what happened here happened anyway. Against 30,000, 8,000 men on a Thursday.